you've signed up for French lessons and now you want to make the most of them and have the best results. Well, good on you. Different students attending the exact same lessons may have dramatically different results. One student may get fluent really fast and another student may learn nothing and, well, quit. In this video, you will learn my 8 best tips to make sure that you are the one who will get fluent as fast as it gets. So if that sounds interesting, keep watching. My name is Angèle Preto, and on this channel, we talk about what it really takes to learn French. I make new videos every single Monday, so since you are learning French, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss my upcoming videos. Let's get started right away with tip number 1, which is to know your goals. Do you know this quote by Derek Rydell? If you don't know where you're going, every road will take you there. What he means to say is that you need to define your goals very specifically, because otherwise you just won't know what to do in order to reach them. And I'm sorry for the bad news, but learn French is a very, very bad goal. Here's why. The French language is made up of about 100,000 words and countless little grammar rules and bits of things and, cultural norms and whatnot. And you can waste a lot of time if you don't know exactly what you're after, just because it is just huge and you can't learn all of the French language. What you want to do is learn some of the French language. And this is why you need to know why you're learning French and what exactly you want to do with your future French skills, because this will help you cut through the irrelevant stuff and make sure you learn only what is relevant and what is useful to you. So it will help you make a better use of your limited time and energy that you have for learning French. Tip number 2 is to commit to your study. The good news is that once you know why you're learning French and you know your goals from tip number 1, it should be a lot easier to feel committed to it, because when you know why you're doing something, it's easier to do it, right? So once you're there, just commit to your study. Show up for your sessions, do the homework, put it in your calendar and make it non-negotiable. If you're having one-on-one sessions with a tutor or a coach, for example with me, you can try having the same time every week. Of course, it's not always possible. I understand that many people have a super hectic schedule, but if you can, you should really do it, because it helps your brain know that your French study is important and that it is something you will return to every week at the same time. So that really helps to stay committed. The same thing goes for your daily French habits. You want to make them non-negotiable, and ideally you want to do it every day at the same time so that it becomes automatic for your brain. And this, by the way, is my tip number 3, which is to practice every day. So even if it's just 5 minutes reviewing your vocab or just a French song that you're listening to in your car, you need to keep some French around and keep your study top of mind. It is really important. The more time you spend listening to some French every day, the better. But what matters the most is that you do it at all. So a 3-minute French song is a lot better than no French at all. If that's all you can have, well then do that. Just listen to one song. Tip number 4 is to keep your motivation high. The reason why people fail at learning French is just because they quit. Or they don't quit, but they show up for class half-heartedly and they don't really do the work. So it's kind of the same thing. They're just uncommitted because they're unmotivated. That's the reason. It's like people quit just because they are demotivated. I will make a complete video about how to stay motivated, because that's a really important topic. But in the meantime, here are some pointers. Remember why you started. That is what we said about in tip number 1, right? You can think every day of the amazing things you'll be able to do when you speak French. That should help you stay motivated. You can actually have a list of those things. You just write them down. You can keep them in your wallet or somewhere like that, and you read it every day. That really helps. Make French a part of your life every day. So like I said, listening to music or listening to some YouTube videos that you like and so on, that should help keep your study top of mind and just have the language. That's what you do. You're a French learner. You're becoming a French speaker. Another thing that really helps is staying in touch with French speakers or other learners. It's much easier to stay motivated when you actually have peers. This is actually one of the benefits of my group program, the French Fluency Accelerator, because being in touch with other students every day in the group and having them cheer you on, it will make a huge difference in comparison to being alone and only doing French once a week. So those are the things that can help you keep your motivation high. Tip number 5 is to write down your questions. Wow, this is super important. So I start every one-on-one coaching session by answering all the questions that my client has. In fact, do you have any questions is the first thing that I ask to my students at the beginning of the session and also at the end of the session, because I want to make sure that all the questions will be asked. We progress in life by answering questions. This is how your brain works. You want to know something, so you go out and find the answer to that. A question is a sign that you are ready to learn something here. So I strongly encourage you to write down all of your questions in between the sessions so that you can remember them and you can ask them to the teacher at the next session. My tip number 6, which is really well tied to the number 5, is to ask, and ask. You should never leave a session with an unanswered question. I'm serious, you just shouldn't. Often my students feel super self-conscious about asking quote unquote too many questions. And there is no such thing as too many questions. And while we're there, there is also no such thing as a stupid question. No question is stupid and no question is too many. I would rather spend the entire session with you answering your questions than let you leave with some unanswered questions. Because if you have a question, it means that you will be able to learn the answer now. So it's much better for you, for your French study, for your progress, to have me answer your questions than to do whatever other things that I've planned, because there is here a hint that something can be learned. So answering your questions is the best thing that I can do as your coach. Of course, this can get trickier in a group, because if you have 30 students, say for example a high school class or something, and everybody has 10 questions, that gets really difficult. And that is the reason why I really recommend one-on-one coaching or tutoring if you can do it at all. It can be in person or online. Nowadays, it doesn't really make a difference. I do all my work online. I use Google Docs and I use recordings and things like that. I actually work better online than I could ever do in person. So you can't say, oh my God, I live in a remote village or something, I can't have a tutor. Yes, you can. There are tons of tutors who can help you and whom you can learn French online with them. So that's always possible, as long as you just like look a bit around and see how you can do one-on-one, because that of course will really help you have your questions answered and have the study tailored for you. Tip number 7 is to grab every opportunity to practice. So you learn French by making the language a part of your life, and therefore it is never too early to start speaking French. And if we circle back to the metaphor of the toddlers learning their native language, at the beginning they're completely impossible to understand, but they still make sound, right? Well, I'm not recommending to you that you get back to toddler level, but as soon as you know some French, even if it's just 2 words, then you are able to start speaking. Nowadays, the opportunities to practice are literally limitless. So you've got YouTube and Netflix and podcasts for just listening. That's passive practice. Even if you know 0 French, you can do that. And you've got apps like Italki, Tandem, and Amikumu that can help you find speakers to practice, either online or close to you offline in the quote-unquote real life. Tip number 8 is to get a roadmap. So the best tool that I know of, which helps you clearly know your goals, how to get there, how to stay on track until you reach your ideal French level, is your roadmap to fluency. And your roadmap to fluency is a personalized French learning plan that you can either have me make for you if you study with me one-on-one, or you can make it for yourself following the step-by-step instruction in my group program, which is the French Fluency Accelerator. And I've also made a video which gives you an overview of the roadmap to fluency system. So I will put a link so you can watch it and find out what it is about if you've never heard of it. The bottom line is that when you have a roadmap, you can use it to direct your French study with any tutor that you work with, and you can really make the most of your sessions because it pulls together all the necessary aspects of your study and it helps you stay on track and accountable. So everything we've spoken about in this video and in many other videos that I've made, they're all pulled together in a comprehensive way in the Roadmap to Fluency process and the Roadmap to Fluency French learning plan. So if you're serious about learning French as fast as it gets, I recommend you check it out. And you can also work with me one-on-one or join my group program, the French Fluency Accelerator. You will find all the links in the description below as usual. But for now, let me just recap the 8 tips so you can remember them. Number 1 was to know your goals. Number 2 was to commit and show up for your study. Number 3 is to practice every day. Number 4 is to keep your motivation high. Number 5 is to write down your questions. Number 6 is to ask all the questions that you have and never leave the session without the answers to your questions. Number 7 is to grab every opportunity to practice. And number 8 is to get a roadmap. And again, there will be a link below and here to explain to you what the roadmap is. Before you go, if you have learned something from this video, please click the like button because it really helps other learners like you find the channel. I am Angel Preto and I will be back next Monday with some more efficient advice to help you learn French, become fluent, and live your best life as a French speaker. So if you appreciate good French learning advice, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a video. I'm Angel Preto and I will see you next Monday. Au revoir.